So I'm going to be playing a couple different positions this year. So, never know what position I come out Ole Miss playing, for real, for real. But whatever spot I'm at, I can truly say that I'm going to make a difference, for sure.
Either way, have you done more away from the football field to kind of develop that leadership, getting ready for this season than you usually do, or different things?
Yes, I can truly say I've been reaching out, getting some toolage from the likes of Duke, Manyweather, those guys, the Hall of Fame linemen. I went to the O-Line Mastermind Summit in Dallas just a week ago. I was over there learning from the Hall of Famers like Lane Johnson, Zach Martin, a couple of veteran guys like Trey Smith from the Chiefs. I just been seeking out people that I know that has more knowledge about the game than me, taking what they take from their everyday weekly process, trying to implement it into the offensive line room at Louisville. I can truly say, I went out there to train with them as well, bring some different techniques back, even some different equipment and stuff to use too. So yes, I definitely did stuff because like in the past, I've never really been the type of guy that just go and just see that toolage from others. I can do stuff like where I'm comfortable at on my own. But I definitely took those steps.
Did you also with your teammates? Is there more reaching out to everybody individually than maybe usual, different kind of reaching out with guys individually?
Well, I can say I always been like a great teammate. I always reach out to my guys. I always make sure I communicate with them. I hit up with them. Hey, what's going on? But I can say more so in person. I definitely take guys on the wing. Like I'd be like, you okay? Like what's going on? How you feeling about this? How you feeling about that? Like I've definitely been, being one of the older guys too. I've been taking like the true freshmen, those guys too. Bringing them along. Just getting them to buy into the program and everything. So I can definitely say yes. I've took steps in that direction as well.
Coach Dawson at Miami, he's having a bunch of success. You came in with him. Your offense, you tore things up at Houston. Now you're at Louisville. He's rep Miami, both having success.
Coach Dawson here?
No, he's not here. But Miami was here yesterday, and just that Houston team. Houston's moved on to other things, the Big 12. But just a little bit about your journey. And you came in, you guys put up a ton of points. It's a very different experience than being at Louisville. But what did that teach you?
Okay, that offense right there was like a tremendous air raid offense. So it was a lot of taking passes, and that definitely taught me a lot about myself. I gave up like really the only like sacks for real I've had in my career like came on that Houston team because we dropped back so much. We was a true drop back team. We had some quick game too. But we had a lot of talented guys. We had guys like Clay Toon, Tank Dale. We had a tremendous offensive line. I played tackle opposite Patrick Paul. Patrick Paul is currently in the league right now as well. So we had some dudes. We were in the American Conference. So it was definitely it was a good transition coming from Conference USA to the American Conference. That taught me a lot about myself. And then also getting to go against those edge rushers every day. Houston was known for having some of the best edge rushers in the country. Around that time, and still not today, but like around that time for real, like we had like probably the best like edges in the country for sure.
Have you been in the locker room with 4 NFL quarterbacks now?
Yeah, because I got Clayton Toon, Miller Mouse, Jack Plummer, Tyler Shook, all of them.
What do you see in Lincoln that makes you confident this is the guy?
Lincoln, the thing about Lincoln, he brings an aspect so different because, for one, he's younger than all those guys. He's more athletic than all those guys. He has tremendous arm talent. And then, he kind of got that dog in him too. Like, the first day I remember we was taking some snaps in the indoor. You kind of want a guy that's going to come like assert himself. Alpha going to be the alpha. Big dog going to show himself. So, we was in there taking some snaps in the indoor. I snapped the ball too fast. I almost hit him. Like he wasn't ready for the ball. He just gave me a look, like he looked like he was like ready to get on that with me. So I was like, okay, this guy right here, like I'm ready to go to war with him. Like he just bring a different aspect, man. We got a lot of plays plays in the offense that we never necessarily, went to in game. Like, of course, we had them in style, but we never really went to these in game. But like him with his legs, we're gonna be able to utilize those. So that's another extension of the run game. And then his arm talent, and the talent that we have on the perimeter. Like, yeah, we're gonna be able to put up some good numbers. We're gonna have a nice explosive offense. A guy that can just move around in the pocket. If it's not there, he can go break for 30, 40 yards. Even clock, almost clock like 23 on GPS. Like, slide, got wheels.
Hey Lance, two things. First, we have a representative from the Remington Trophy, and it's an award for the center, best centers in the nation. Yeah, but we're trying to get the ACC to win this year. So could you give him a shout out, just like shout out to the Remington Trophy, please?
Okay.
You gotta look at this camera, not mine.
Which
I'm next.
My name's Mike, but I'm from the Remington Trophy. Best center in college football gets it. What would it mean for you to bring something home like that?
It would be a tremendous honor for me to bring that trophy home. That's always been a dream of mine. Looking at the guys nominated for the Remington, looking at the guys that have won in the past, they're all physical guys, all smart guys, all leaders on the offensive line. And I feel like I possess those qualities. And, that'll just be a tremendous honor for me.
Thanks, Lance. Thank you so much.
Yeah, shout out to the Remington Trophy, too.
My man.
Perfect. Now, I'm Des with Pretty Girls Media, and I'm going to have you pick your questions out the bag. You ready? You was ready to take the whole bag.
Yeah, I thought you wanted me to just. Okay, it says, besides the obvious, what is the one thing you can improve? Okay, so my question would be, like, what is the obvious? That's what I'm saying. But okay, I can truly say, I got to work on more like more mobility stuff. Just taking care of my body more, cause playing 800 snaps in a season, that wears and tears on the body. Me being an older guy as well, that definitely, it's a little mileage on the body for sure. But I can just truly say, stretching more, doing more mobility exercises as far as like ankle, knee, and hip. That's the main thing I can truly say. Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. That's an answer a lot of folks don't give. Alright. What is your career choice besides the NFL? Okay, so here's the thing. Initially when I came out of high school, I was an engineering major, but I transferred and my credits didn't really match up with that, so I went down the psychology route. So with that, I would really try to pursue a master's degree, get that degree, and then I have some offers from old high school coaches. They want me to come coach offensive line, so I could probably get into the social work aspect in the school system. I could do that as well. But sidebar from that though, just a deep side hustle type plan. I also want to do a dog kennel. I got dogs, so I like to breed dogs and sell them and everything. And so that's something that I could definitely get into as well. You know what I'm saying? Taking care of them. Well, I have 2 XL American bullies. One named Rambo, he's 4 years old. One named Cardi, she's 2. So I take care of them. They're down in Georgia at my house right now. My uncle's looking after them right now. But they got their own little house. Fans, air conditioners. It's a nice little setup. So I like to get something bigger on a bigger scale.
Okay, I like that. Real entrepreneur spirit.
Listen, I'm gonna give you something that people usually ain't gonna say. You know what I'm saying? Every player has the I belong here moment. When and what and when was yours? It's kind of interesting. So of course I was at MTSU, but we played Virginia Tech in 2021. Played Virginia Tech in 2021 at Virginia Tech. And, we was there, we was losing, of course we lost, but it was 14-7 at half. But I just remember that game as a young guy. I was 18, 19 years old. And I allowed no sacks. I had a pretty good game. I was going against those ACC edge rushers, and I was like, okay, this it's pretty easy. So I was like, okay, yeah, I definitely belong here, man.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
For you, Lance, obviously talking about some of the coaching offers you have, I just want to ask you, you're very versatile, what it takes to be a good offensive line, being able to do a whole bunch of the things your coach has to do?
Well, for one, you got to be selfless. That's the main thing. You can't never think you're bigger than what's going on, because of course it's 5 guys, trying to work for one goal. Be able to be a smart physical football player. You got to be able to have controlled aggression, because that's a big thing too. It's okay, it's easy to go, crash into somebody and just, try to move them, but you got to have controlled aggression, because, the defenses change like this. They line up like that, but they change. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not just it's a lot that goes into it. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, it's a very detail-oriented position.
And then last thing, just talk about being a leader, man, because obviously you got to make the calls, you got to make sure everything goes right, you got to hike the ball. Talk about that a little bit, to be a leader of this group.
Being the leader of the group, it's easy when you have guys that are willing to come in, and just follow your lead, just stepping up to the plate every day, knowing that I'm the guy that people are gonna look at, when things get hard. That's a big responsibility to hold on your shoulders. Trying to make sure I show them every day that I'm here for them, and I'm here to represent them, and I commend them for the work that they've done. Those guys that have come in, they're tremendous guys, tremendous athletes. They've all, made it pretty easy to be their leader, and I appreciate them for that.
Appreciate you, man.